Hi everyone, welcome to day one of the 2025 eShopperReviews Game Awards, where we look at the best and worst games released on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025. I'm Jen Ip.
And I'm Jake McNeil.
Before we get started, I'll clarify that these awards will be focusing on games reviewed by eShopperReviews over the course of the last year, which means we won't be including games that Jake couldn't get to in time.
Games like Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, Street Fighter VI, and Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
And to keep things recent and relevant, this will not include games that were available on other platforms prior to the year 2023, except in award categories specifically about things like ports, compilations, and value, or where there's something fundamentally new or different about this release.
That means that games like Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, Final Fantasy Tactics Ivalice Edition, and Deltarune were disqualified from most awards. And I specifically wanted to comment in regards to Deltarune. I kind of went back and forth over this because it did get its first actual sale, like physical release, I believe, this year. But the first two chapters have been available free for download for years now. I want to say it's been something like 7 years. And ultimately, I decided I just couldn't let it be in this year's awards because so much of what it is has been out for a while now.
Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's get to day one of the awards. Today's awards, the specialty awards, pertain to a variety of areas like funniest game, best multiplayer, and the most underrated game.
Yeah, this is basically a catch-all for awards that don't really fit in with the rest of this week's awards.
All right, so now we'll start out with 2024 Second Chance Awards. This is a category for games from 2024 that were so good they might have gotten awards from eShopperReviews last year if Jake managed to play them in time.
Yeah, this is the better late than never award, unfortunately.
And what are these games?
So I have a top 10 here, and starting from number 10, they are Arranger, a role puzzling adventure, Artifact Seeker, Fast Penguin, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy, Death Trick Double Blind, Kamitsubaki City Ensemble, Soul Link, Wildermyth Console Edition, Crystal Project, and my number one game that I missed out on last year is Core Keeper.
Okay, some of these I actually have touched.
Oh, really? Which ones have you played?
I tried Wildermyth. I could not get into it.
Okay. Is that the only one?
Core Keeper, I think I played with you briefly.
I really wanted you to try it because I thought you'd really like it, and I don't feel like you really got into it all that much. I'd like you to give it another try sometime, though.
Next up is the top 10 games I wish I could have played before writing this, but didn't get around to doing in time.
Hey, Jen, want to hear a super long explanation about what this award is for?
No. What are the games, though?
Aww. So the top 10 games that I really wish I could have gotten to, but just there wasn't enough time and money. Number 10, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster Gate Rune and Dunen Unification Wars. Number 9, Urban Myth Dissolution Center. Number 8, Plants vs. Zombies Replanted. Number 7, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. Number 6, Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2. Number 5, Chronos the New Dawn. Number 4, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Number 3, Absolem. Number 2, Street Fighter VI. And the number one game I really wish I could have gotten to, but there just wasn't the time and money, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment.
All right. Next up is Best Paid Nintendo Switch 2 Game Upgrade. This is a new award for 2025 because there was no Nintendo Switch 2 in 2024.
Yeah, this award is specifically for games with some sort of upgrade path if you own the original Nintendo Switch version of the game. but you can buy an upgrade or get a discount or something like that to get a Nintendo Switch 2 version of it. But it requires that you spend at least some money. Here, I'm looking both at the value and how good the upgrade is.
This year's runners up for best paid Nintendo Switch 2 game upgrades are
Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Star-Crossed World. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition.
not surprised.
And The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition.
Not surprised as well. And the winner?
The winner for the best paid Nintendo Switch 2 game upgrade is Yooka-Replay-Ly. Yooka-Replay-Ly is a remake, sort of Yooka-Laylee, which was kind of a Banjo-Kazooie style 3D platformer. It was good, but there were some complaints about it. And while I would say most of the game is fairly faithful, it does have a lot of major changes in addition to the graphics upgrades. And I wasn't super thrilled with all of the changes, but it's very clear they put a lot of effort into this. It's more than just, oh, hey, we have, some better visuals and better performance and a few extra little features. And I wanted to recognize that they did a really fantastic job updating this game.
Okay, next up is best free Nintendo Switch 2 game upgrade. This is another new award for 2025, again because Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, we didn't have a Switch 2 last year, go figure. With this award, it's kind of like the last one, except I'm looking specifically at free upgrades. Because there were a lot of games where it's just, if you had the original version, it was better on Switch 2, either because there was an update, because there was a new version that you got a 100% discount on, or just because the original game ran so much better on Switch 2.
Okay, this year's runners up for best free Nintendo Switch 2 game upgrades are
Islanders, Descenders, On Your Tail, Fortnite, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet.
And the winner?
The winner is No Man's Sky Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. On Nintendo Switch, No Man's Sky was something of a miracle port, not because it was an amazing port that ran perfectly, but the fact that the game even works on Nintendo Switch at all is kind of a miracle. It is such an ambitious game that's so far-reaching, but they had to make so many compromises to get it to work, both in terms of graphics and performance, but also there's a lot of content that they cut out of it. I know that the newest content update wasn't applied to the Nintendo Switch version as an example. The Nintendo Switch 2 version, on the other hand, you wouldn't know that there was any compromise at all. It's feature complete. It runs really smoothly, really well. It's not a perfect version of the game, but it is a very, very good version of the game. The Nintendo Switch 2 version doesn't feel like a compromised version at all. And the fact that it is a free upgrade is just jaw-dropping. There are paid upgrades for games that are not as improved as No Man's Sky is on Nintendo Switch 2. And so this was an absolute no-brainer for me. This is an incredibly improved version of the game on Nintendo Switch 2 compared to the Nintendo Switch version.
All right, next up is the best port or remake, which is pretty straightforward, I think.
It's a little less straightforward than last year because, well, number one, we have ports from Switch to Switch 2, but more than that, we're still kind of trying to figure out exactly what the Switch 2 is capable of. So we're kind of judging Switch 2 games by looking at other Switch 2 games and kind of comparing and contrasting, okay, how well did this port stack up versus that one? But I think we got a good group here.
All right, this year's runners-up for best port or remake are
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Trails in the Sky First Chapter, No Man's Sky Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, and Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition.
and the winner.
The winner for Best Port or Remake on a Nintendo platform in 2025 is Guilty Gear Strive, Nintendo Switch Edition. Guilty Gear Strive is an incredible looking game. They use this technique that this developer's used before in games like Dragon Ball Fighters or Fighter Z. I'm not sure the correct pronunciation of that, where it uses cel shaded 3D graphics, but it's animated in a very particular style that makes it look like they're 2D images. So it just looks like the best animated 2D images you've seen because it's all 3D, but it's kind of at a lower frame rate animation. And the detail, the amount of effects that are going on, all of these things are just really incredible to look at. And this game came out some years ago, but even then, it looked like the kind of thing that would never work on Nintendo Switch. So the fact that this isn't even a Nintendo Switch 2 port, this is a Nintendo Switch port of the game, and that it looks as good as it does, it performs as well as it does. The resolution is maybe a little lower than I think you would look for in a modern game, but otherwise, even the loading times are really brief. And this does not feel in any way like a compromised game, despite that this is on such underpowered hardware. And I have no idea how they managed to get this game looking this good on the original Nintendo Switch. I was shocked at seeing this.
Next up is Best Compilation or Collection. Jake, do you want to say again what you look for in a good compilation or collection?
As I said in previous years, this is about how many games there are, but also how good are those games? Is there any bonus content? Are there any improvements to the games in the collection? There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into a good collection, and I'm kind of trying to incorporate all of that.
All right, so what are the runners up?
The runners up for Best Compilation or Collection are Simogo Legacy Collection, Lunar Remastered Collection, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Gradius Origins, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 Plus 4.
And the winner?
The winner for Best Compilation or Collection on Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025 is UFO 50. UFO 50 is a really crazy original concept for a game. This game company basically invented this whole history of this fictional game console. And then this is a collection of 50 of the games for those fictional game consoles that never existed. And that's a cute idea in and of itself. But what's really astounding is every one of these games, or at least almost every one of these games, is extremely wildly inventive. And you can see the evolution of how the company progressed through the years and how they changed things up from one game to its sequel and all of that, despite that this was all created brand new, fresh for this collection. And I would say not all of the 50 games in this collection are great, but I think that they are so diverse and different and unique and weird that everyone's probably going to enjoy some of them. And I think that one of the great things about this collection is that the games that different people enjoy are going to be different games for different people.
All right, next up is the best sequel. And Jake, what do you consider a good sequel?
I've said in previous years, I think a good sequel tends to carry forward themes or gameplay from the previous games or other games in that franchise and either improve on it in some way or add something new to make for an even better experience.
All right, so what are the runners up?
The runners up for Best Sequel are Donkey Kong Bonanza, Daemon Ex Machina Titanic Scion, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Guilty Gear Strive Nintendo Switch Edition, and Fast Fusion.
And the winner?
The winner for Best Sequel is Momodora Moonlit Farewell.
Hey,
The Momodora series is a series of Metroidvania games, and the previous game, Reverie Under the Moonlight, I liked, but I thought it had problems. It had pacing issues, it had difficulty spikes. It's a kind of Metroidvania where you could go for far too long without getting upgrades and stuff, and that doesn't make for a really satisfying Metroidvania. And I was really surprised this year when this game pretty much addressed all of the issues that I had with the previous game. And it brought forward all of the things that were great about it, the great pixel art graphics style and good animation, the beautiful inventive world, and just combining all of those good old elements with the improvements this version has. It is worlds better than its predecessor and a magnificent sequel.
Next up is Best Game for Kids and Casual Players. And would you say this is something like the Best Game for Everyone award?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a game that can be enjoyed by kids and casual players, but also ideally something that anyone could pick up and play without having to figure things out or having too much difficulty.
So, what are the runners up?
The runners up for Best Game for Kids and Casual Players are Donkey Kong Bonanza, Is This Seat Taken, Tempopo, Vinebound Tangled Together, Sonic Racing Crossworlds.
And the winner?
The winner for Best Game for Kids and Casual Players is Mario Kart World.
Why am I not surprised?
I had some things that I didn't like about Mario Kart World this year, but even with my issues with that game, it's hard not to see it as the ultimate game to just put a controller in someone's hands and they will immediately know how to play it and probably have a pretty good time. I can't picture anyone playing this game for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour, maybe even an hour, and not enjoying themselves, whether they're a little kid, someone who doesn't really play games much, or even a more advanced gamer who has played games. I think there's a little something for everyone in this game to enjoy.
Next up is Best Multiplayer. And it's kind of obvious what this one is about.
Yeah, pretty much. This is for both competitive and co-op games, for both local and online play, pretty much anything that involves more than one person playing it.
So, what are the runners up?
The runners-up for Best Multiplayer Game are Kirby Air Riders, Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Mario Kart World, Catching Spirits, and Vinebound Tangled Together.
And the winner?
The winner is Split Fiction.
Ooh,
Yeah, you played this one with me.
we need to finish that game.
I still think we've got a ways to go. I played this with Sin previously and just started a game with you pretty recently.
Yeah.
And this is made by the same folks who made It Takes Two. And I think it carries a lot of those same gameplay philosophies into this game, but with a different presentation, different characters, different style. Where It Takes Two is kind of a cartoony, family-friendly adventure sort of thing. This is more of a sci-fi fantasy adventure with lots of explosions and cool things happening all the time. And there's this sci-fi machine that these two girls are trapped in. And the way that this game is designed, like It Takes Two, is it's kind of this roller coaster of just one set piece after another, where one moment you're, jumping on the top of trucks in a cyberpunk kind of city, and the next moment you're a couple of pigs in a backyard with superpowers. It's silly but cool. There's a lot of variety, and the way it does asymmetrical multiplayer is really cool, where both characters are doing different things in a way that I feel like if you wanted to, you could go back and play this game a second time and swap characters with the other person, and you'd have a very different experience, but it would still be a great experience for both players.
All right, next up is Best New Free to Play Game. And why is new in quotation marks?
It's because this year there just were not that many actual fully new free-to-play games that were all that good. I got one on this list, but otherwise the games that are included here are Nintendo Switch 2 versions of games that were on Nintendo Switch 1, but were compromised in a way that the Nintendo Switch 2 version, it's almost like playing a completely different game.
All right, so what are the runners up?
The runners up are Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra and Apex Legends.
And the winner?
The winner is Fortnite.
Of course.
What do you mean, of course? It's not like I'm a huge Fortnite gamer.
No, you're not.
Fortnite, when it was released on Nintendo Switch, I think it was in about as good condition as you could kind of expect on the platform. And when I originally reviewed it, I pretty much said so in my review. I thought it was a good version of the game, given the hardware that it was on. But this many years later, it has clearly aged quite a bit, especially on Nintendo Switch. And so when they released a Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game, it was like, oh, I can finally breathe again and play this game where I can actually see things and it doesn't look terrible. Um, and on top of that, Fortnite is one of those games where it's constantly a new game anyway. They're always adding new game modes. And by new game modes, I don't just mean new ways to shoot people, but completely new game modes. Like previously, when I reviewed this, they didn't have the music rhythm game mode or the racing game mode or the Lego adventure game mode. And it's come to be the point where Fortnite isn't a game so much as it's a game platform. So, for all of those reasons, I feel pretty comfortable saying it is a quote unquote new game in this review. At least that's what I'm going with.
Right, next up is best value. And Jake, what is best value in this context?
So, when I'm talking about best value, I don't just mean the cheapest game, I don't just mean the best game, but it's kind of a combination of the two. What's the best bang for your buck? I don't want to spend much money, but I want to get something really good for the money that I spend.
All right, so what are the runners up?
The runners up for best value are Please Touch the Artwork 2 for $5, Hades 2 for $30, Hollow Knight Silk Song for $20, UFO 50 for $25, and Vinebound Tangled Together for $5.
And the winner?
The winner is Fast Fusion, which sells for $15. This was a Nintendo Switch 2 launch title, and honestly, it was one of the highlights of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch for me. This is a showpiece game. It looks magnificent. It is a blast to play. And that it looks better than a lot of the $60 or $70 games on Nintendo Switch 2, but it sells for $15. I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the $80 Mario Kart World, and I'm like, between the two, I'd rather be playing Fast Fusion. And wow, that costs so much less. It was really easy to point to that and say, I feel like that is definitely the best value on a Nintendo platform this year.
Funniest game, Switch, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think so. Usually when this comes up, I want to say that it's not just games that are funny in and of themselves, but that you can have a laugh while playing it too. Although I think most of these games, it's more of the former than the latter this year.
All right, so what are the runners up?
The runners up for funniest game are Time Flies, Once Upon a Katamari, Vinebound Tangled Together, Please Touch the Artwork 2, and Be Brave, Barb.
And the winner?
The winner for funniest game is Shotgun Cop Man.
Wow.
This is a very silly, kind of very actiony, a little bit dumb, but in a very funny way, game where you're going around and shooting things, and your shots are what propel you around. So, when you shoot down, that's your jump. When you shoot to the side, that's your dash or air dash. And what's so funny about this game is it is just so ridiculous. The premise of the game is that you are this giant hunky cop dude who's been sent on an assignment to arrest Satan in hell. And it's like there's all sorts of cut scenes where the characters are interacting. There's this very weird but funny kind of synthesized voice for Shotgun Cop Man. I think that's his actual name, is Shotgun Cop Man. And every time in the game when you die, it like zooms into his face and he puts up a finger and he goes, I die. And then he dies. And it's just so ridiculous. Yeah, this is one that definitely stood out to me as the funniest this year.
Next up is most underrated. And what do you think makes a game underrated?
For this, I am looking primarily at Metacritic scores, and if the Metacritic score is way underneath what I felt the game deserved, I'm considering that underrated.
And what are the runners up?
The runners up for most underrated game are Old Skies with a 75 on Metacritic, Discounty with a 74, Fast Fusion with an 80, Front Mission 3 Remake with a 66, and Wild Hearts S with a 75.
And the winner?
The winner for most underrated game is Daemon Ex Machina Titanic Scion. This game got a 69 on Metacritic, which I know a lot of people will see that score and go, oh, that means this is a bad game. And I absolutely do not believe it's a bad game. It has an open world that's fun to go around in. I'd say it's not as nice to explore as some open worlds, but it's still a good open world game. It has a good gameplay loop with a lot of really good shooty action. There are things that I think could be improved about it, but overall, I think it is an excellent game, and it definitely doesn't deserve a score as low as 69.
Okay. Next is most overlooked. And how does overlooked differ from underrated?
So with underrated games, they were games that had a low score on Metacritic, and I thought they deserved more than that. Overlooked games don't even have a Metacritic score because there aren't enough reviews for a Metacritic score. And I think more people need to play these games because they are wonderful.
And the runners up are?
Catching Spirits, Be Brave Barb, Mosalina, 3D Don't Die Mr. Robot, and Roger.
And the winner?
The winner for most overlooked game is Battlesuit Aces. Battlesuit Aces is a card RPG with a mech theme going on. And a lot of the things this game does are not just good, but surprisingly good. Like, I wouldn't expect a card RPG to have a compelling story, but this does. And I'm not even a really big mech guy, but the story in this just makes me want to see what happens next. The characters are excellent. And of course, with a card RPG, you want to have really good gameplay. And I feel like this does that extremely well. The art style is fantastic. Like, the music is wonderful. Everything about this game is exceptional. And it hurts to know that so few people have actually played this. I really think that this is a game, especially if you enjoy card RPGs. It's not a roguelike, but if you enjoy games like Slay the Spire, for example, this is absolutely one that you will want to try out.
Next up is most original. And does a game have to be really good to win this, or is it enough to be unusual and different?
Ideally it should be both, but for this award, I'm looking for a game that has an original idea or ideas and succeeds in executing that original idea.
Okay. What are the runners up?
The runners up for most original game are Promise Mascot Agency, Time Flies, Ball Pit, Mosalina, and UFO 50.
And the winner?
The winner for most original game is Blippo Plus.
That's
Yeah,
a weird name.
it is a weird name. Oh geez, how do I even describe this game? It is an FMV game, as in the majority of the game is just like video clips of people acting and doing skits or whatever. And the premise of the game is that you have somehow received this mysterious device from a far off galaxy or something, transported through a wormhole, and you're watching like alien TV stations and you can flicker between them at will. The thing about these alien TV stations is that they look a lot like the kind of style that you would see in TV shows from the late 1980s and 1990s on our TV, but with a very weird alien touch. And there's a lot of variety in the different alien TV shows, which are all only a minute long. So it's constantly going through this lineup of minute long TV shows where you'll have like we're the cool kids and no adults, that kind of show. And then you'll flick the channel and it'll be a cooking show with bizarre ingredients that don't exist in real life. And then you'll flick the channel and it'll be an ad for an exploitation movie that's going into theaters. And you'll flick the channel and it'll be a Dungeons and Dragons themed trivia show. There's all kinds of weird ideas here jumbled together. And the cool thing is as you're playing through it, the people on this alien world that are making this media realize that their media is being consumed by people on some far off galaxy. So they start talking about it and musing about what these strange people watching their shows might be. And, oh, hey, we made a primer for how to understand our world, but it's filtered through, this weird lens of their own unique pop culture. And there's not much gameplay to this game, but just the weird, unique, whatever the heck it is of this game really makes it stand out. And I definitely think it earns that most original.
Next up is most efficient use of file storage space. So will these games be tiny?
And not necessarily, but it's more about it's kind of best bang for your buck, except for it's best bang for your, file space. And I feel like that's become even more important this year with Nintendo Switch 2 because everything about the Switch 2 is bigger and better, but that means it's also taking up a lot more space on the handheld, and there's only so much space to go around.
So what are the runners up?
The runners up for most efficient use of file storage space are Islanders New Shores with 404 megabytes, Ocean Keeper Dome Survival Roguelike with 764 megabytes, Motorbikes Pro 2025 with 351 megabytes, Momodora Moonlit Farewell with 300 megabytes, and Battlesuit Aces at 1.6 gigabytes.
And the winner?
The winner for most efficient use of file storage space is Fast Fusion, which takes up 3.52 gigabytes. And compared to the other ones, that's the biggest of the bunch. But what you're getting for that is really incredible. This is one of the best looking games on Nintendo Switch 2, I believe. And it is a fraction of the size of most of those games. You have games that take up 70 gigabytes that don't look as good as this game does.
Next up is the wow, this game was way better than I expected award. And don't try to explain this one.
But I wanna...
Nope. You are the runners up.
Okay. The runners up for the wow, this game was way better than I expected award are Daemon X Machina, Titanic Scion, Kamikaze Last Planes, Motorbikes Pro 2025, and Then There Was No Light, and Ocean Keeper Dome Survival Roguelike.
And the winner?
The winner is Battlesuit Aces. I already mentioned this one before, so I won't go into too much detail about how great it is, but this is one so few people had played, and it's like, I'm not a big mech guy. Despite that I did 2 mech weeks this year, thank you, Jamie and his cats. That was very kind of you to support those 2 weeks, and I appreciate it. But it's not normally the type of story that I gravitate towards. I don't have a thing against mechs, but it's not a big thing for me. And for this game to make really compelling gameplay and to make a story that really gets me interested in a kind of genre that doesn't tend to interest me as far as stories go, I think it really caught me off guard just how amazing it was.
Next up is Best Third Party Publisher. And what do you consider best?
So in this case, I'm not talking about their business practices or their hiring practices, their employment practices. That's really depressing at this point with the way a lot of game companies have been behaving. For this, I am just focusing on the games, and specifically how many really great games did these companies put out this year, both in terms of number of games, but also in terms of the quality of the games. And all of these had at least 2 really good games this year.
And the runners up are.
The runners-up for Best Third-Party Publisher are Playism, who put out Momodora, Moonlit Farewell, and Blade Chimera; Marvelous, who put out Daemon Ex Machina, Titanic Scion, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, and The 100-Line Last Defense Academy; Square Enix, who put out Final Fantasy Tactics, The Ivalice Chronicles, Octopath Traveler 0, and Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster; Panic, who put out Blippo Plus and Time Flies; and Devolver Digital, who put out Ball Pit and Shotgun Cop Man.
And the winner?
The winner for the best third-party publisher on Nintendo platforms in 2025 is Sega and Atlus, who this year put out Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, Yakuza Kiwami on Nintendo Switch 2, Two Point Museum, Persona 3 Reload, and Right Owl Remastered The Mystery of the Soulless Army.
All right, next up is top 5 games that would be up for a lot more awards this week if they weren't disqualified due to how old their original release is. And like I said earlier, these games were released on other platforms before 2025, and now they're too old.
Yeah, I'm still allowing games released in 2023 or later for most of the awards, and these games were available elsewhere before 2023. And I've got to have a cutoff somewhere. And with these games, I felt like over 2 years old was just a little too generous to be giving these games awards when newer games deserve recognition. But I think these games still deserve recognition, so they're getting it here.
All right, so what are those games?
Number 5 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, or 3 plus 4. Number 4 is Final Fantasy Tactics Ivalice Edition. Number 3 is Deltarune. Number 2 is Guilty Gear Strive Nintendo Switch Edition. And number 1 is Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition.
Next up is Jake's top 10 most played games of 2025. And what were your most played games this year, Jake?
I don't know. Nintendo is still dragging its feet, putting up its usual yearly year-in review page on their website. And Nintendo is just lousy at providing play data for their games. It's frustrating. However, I can guess what I think will be on it. Only time will tell how accurate I'll be on this.
So what do you think are your top 10 games?
So I have 10 of them here. I don't know what order I'd place them in, so I'm just kind of going to mention them and explain why I think that they're probably going to get mentioned. One is Shujinko, and this is one where even after I reviewed it, I wanted to play it more to see if my opinion changed on it, both because I know a lot of people thought it was really good, and because the actual head developer of this game commented in the review saying that he didn't think that I had given the game quite enough of a chance in the time that it was that I played it. And I thought that was a fair criticism. And I wanted to give it a deeper look to see if my opinion changed, and it really didn't. In fact, if anything, it got worse. The next one is Ball Pit, which I liked earlier in the year, but I wasn't sure how much I liked it. Like, I wasn't sure if I felt like this is Game of the Year kind of material, or if I just kind of like I give it an A-. So I liked it quite a bit, but I wanted to kind of clarify that. So I've played it a lot more over the course of the last few weeks, and yeah, it's pretty good. Next up is Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is, I don't think it would be too much of a spoiler to say it's one of my favorite games of the year. And while I was reviewing it, I just played the heck out of it. In fact, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, ooh, I should go back and play more of that. But I'm not gonna, because I'm working on this right now. Next up is Crystal Project, a game from last year that, again, Jamie and his cats, thank you again for your kind donation, had requested a review for this. And I was just like, okay, I'll play it to review. And I feel like I played it for quite a while because it was just such a good game. Next up is Old Skies, which is a graphic adventure, and I kind of got absorbed into the story and wanted to see more of it. Then Mario Kart World, which was the big Nintendo Switch 2 launch title, so of course I was going to play a lot of that. Momodora Moonlit Farewell, which is another one where as I was reviewing it, I really got sucked into it. It was a really great game. Vinebound Tangled Together, I played a lot with you, Jen.
Yeah, it was a fun game.
Yeah, and that's one we've kept going back to throughout the year just to keep playing it. And for the last two games, I wanted to look at a couple from last year that I was like, I think I probably played a lot of that. One of them is Castle on the Coast, which I played a fair amount of because I was like, I think I can beat this. It's not a very long game, and I did end up beating it. It's a good game. And the other one, the one that I keep going back to just because I love playing it, is Peglin.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and I guess we will see when Nintendo finally does their thing if any of those make the list, although I expect most of them probably, or at least half of them will, I'm sure.
Next up is Jake's top 10 most anticipated games of 2026. And these are just Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 games, right?
Yeah, I'm not really looking at other platforms. I know you like your PC games, Jen. But as it happens, some of these games are coming out on multiple platforms, including PC, and some of them are ports from other platforms that have already been released on those platforms now, but I'm really looking forward to the Nintendo Switch 2 version of those games.
All right, so what are the games you're looking forward to the most?
Well, number 10 is Vampire Crawlers, a kind of a spin-off of Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
Number 9 is the next Mario Tennis game, Mario Tennis Fever. Number 8 is Orbitals, which was just revealed at the Game Awards as a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, and it has this really cool anime art style. Number 7 is The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, which is kind of an action RPG from the makers of Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. Number 6 is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which was an Xbox game, and they announced that a Switch 2 version is coming, and everything I've heard about it is really great. Number 5 is Pokemon Pokopia, and while I've kind of become wary of Pokemon games over the years because they've really been disappointing, this is a different kind of Pokemon game where they're not going for like a mainline kind of game, but this is more of like kind of a spin-off that combines the Pokemon franchise with Dragon Quest Builders, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like in my hands. Number 4 is Fire Emblem Fortune's Leave, which is probably, I think the biggest game Nintendo has currently announced for 2026, at least that they themselves have announced. Number 3 is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which of course is huge, and it's finally coming to a Nintendo platform in 2026. Number 2, which I'm kind of wary of, but everybody says it's great, is Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. I'm not a really big Souls-like guy, but I love open worlds, and everyone loves this game, so I'm really, really curious to play it. And finally, my number 1 most anticipated game of 2026 is Slay the Spire 2, which has not yet been announced for Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2, but I feel like it's a given because it was such a huge hit on the original Switch. And the original game, I've played probably hundreds and hundreds of hours of it. It is so good. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do in a sequel.
All right, next up is, did last year's top 10 most anticipated games meet your expectations?
Yeah, and unlike last year, I actually played almost all of last year's most anticipated games. Last year, I was like, well, I didn't play this yet. This one, every game that released, I have played.
All right, let's start with number 10, Coffee Talk Tokyo.
This one has not been released. This is delayed until 2026, so I guess I'll find out sometime this year, probably.
Number 9, Capcom Fighting Collection 2.
I would say this one lived up to my expectations. It was an all-around excellent collection of games, and it had a few nice surprises, too.
Number 8, Guilty Gear Strive.
I think from how I've talked about it so far, you can pretty much guess I was super thrilled with this release of Guilty Gear Strive. So yes, it exceeded my expectations.
Number 7, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
I think this one met my expectations. It's a pretty good port from Wii U to Nintendo Switch, and I think they did a good job.
Number 6, Blade Chimera.
I thought this one was good. I don't know that I'd say it met my expectations, and I think there were other Metroidvanias that came out this year that better fit that description, meeting expectations than Blade Chimera did.
Number 5, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma.
This one I don't think quite met my expectations, but it was good and I enjoyed it, and it wasn't a huge disappointment like Rune Factory 5 was.
Number 4, Everhood 2.
This one did not meet my expectations. It was actually a pretty big disappointment for me.
Ooh. Number 3, Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time.
I was a little underwhelmed by this one, especially compared to all the other people who seemed to be super thrilled with it, but I thought it was still good. I enjoyed it.
Number 2, Hades 2.
I wasn't as impressed with Hades 2 as I was with the original, but I think a part of that is the freshness factor. Hades 2 is kind of like more Hades in a lot of ways. They've changed a lot of things. The characters are different. There are new mechanics, but the gameplay, a lot of it feels pretty similar and it's all very good, but it didn't blow me away like the original one did.
And number 1, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yeah, sadly, no, this did not meet expectations. It's good, but I think they made a lot of really questionable design choices in this that really worked against the typical Metroid formula.
Okay, that does it for day 1 of the eShopperReviews 2025 Game Awards. Thank you for listening, and please come back throughout the week of January 12th through January 16th, 2026 to see more awards announced. And remember, if you want to read about the games mentioned here, head to eShopperReviews.com. And if you enjoyed this content, please consider heading over to our Patreon page to support eShopper Reviews and gain access to even more content. Thank you again, everyone. This has been Jen Ed,
And Jake McNeil.
and we hope you've enjoyed some great games this year.
Later.